26th of January, 1945. Snow lies over the open fields east of Holtzwihr in the Colmar Pocket of Alsace, France. American infantry from the 15th Infantry Regiment of the 3rd Infantry Division hold a thin line at the edge of the Bois de Riedwihr. An M10 tank destroyer of the 601st Tank Destroyer Battalion burns just in front of the tree line. Flames pour from the open turret and fighting compartment. Smoke rises above the wreck as ammunition inside the vehicle cooks off in sharp, irregular detonations. 2nd Lieutenant Audie Murphy, 19 years old, commands Company B of the 15th Infantry Regiment. On his own order, his men have withdrawn into prepared positions inside the woods. He remains alone near the burning vehicle. A field telephone line still connects him with artillery behind the regiment's front. He holds the handset under his steel helmet and watches the ground toward Holtzwihr. The German artillery barrage on the American positions lifts. From the direction of the village, 6 German armoured vehicles move out, followed by a company-sized force of infantry in white winter overgarments. The tanks or assault guns leave the road and fan out across the snow-covered field. The infantry follows in loose formation behind the armour, using shallow ditches and folds in the ground for what cover they can find. Murphy drops into a shallow position near the wrecked M10 and calls for artillery fire. Within moments, shells from division artillery begin to fall among the German infantry. Bursts of high explosive throw snow and earth into the air and force the advancing riflemen to ground. The German vehicles continue to move forward, their guns beginning to fire toward the American line. Watching from his exposed position, Murphy sees that the German infantry is still working its way forward behind the armour. If they reach the trees in strength, his understrength company will not be able to hold. The burning tank destroyer in front of him is the only platform with a clear field of fire over the approaches from Holtzwihr. He leaves his cover, climbs onto the rear deck of the M10, and makes his way toward the open turret through smoke and heat. The Browning M2 .50 caliber machine gun mounted above the turret is still intact. Murphy swings the heavy gun toward the nearest German infantry and pulls back the charging handle. When he presses the triggers, the weapon snaps into life. Tracers reach out across the snow toward German soldiers who have risen to move forward between the ditches. Men caught in the open fall or throw themselves flat as the heavy bullets tear into the white field. Spent cartridge cases spill out and disappear into the smoke and fire below. Murphy keeps the field telephone pressed between his head and his shoulder while he fires. With one hand, he continues to pass fire corrections to the artillery. With the other, he works the machine gun, sweeping the beaten zone where the German infantry is trying to regroup. As the attack closes to short range, he stays on the burning tank destroyer alone, on the forward edge of the American line, holding the German company under the combined weight of his machine gun and the guns firing from far behind the term. Woods. January 1945 finds the last German bridgehead on the west bank of the Rhine, still holding around Colmar in Alsace. German 19th Army defends the Colmar Pocket under orders to hold the region as German soil. Opposite it stands the United States 6th Army Group, commanded by Lieutenant General Jacob L. Devers. Within 6th Army Group, French 1st Army is commanded by General Jean de Lattre de Tassigny. Under his control, French 2 Corps is led by General Joseph de Goisla de Montsaber. Among the divisions serving under French 2 Corps in this operation is the United States 3rd Infantry Division. 3rd Infantry Division has marched and fought since North Africa in 1942. Its record includes the campaigns in Sicily at Salerno and Anzio in Italy, and the landings and advance in southern France. In January 1945, the division fights in Alsace under French tactical control to help eliminate the Colmar Pocket. Its mission in the northern sector is to cross the Ill River, advance near the Bois de Riedwihr, between the villages of Riedwihr and Holtzwihr, and open the way toward the Rhine crossings in this part of the front. 15th Infantry Regiment holds the division's line in this sector. Its battalions secure the bridgehead near the Maison Rouge area on the Ill, and press south into the Bois de Riedwihr toward Holtzwihr. German commanders understand that the Colmar Pocket is the last substantial German-held area in France. If it is lost, 19th Army must withdraw to the east bank of the Rhine. German counterattacks therefore strike repeatedly from villages such as Riedwihr and Holtzwihr against American and French salients whenever an opening appears. A successful thrust that pushes Allied troops back across the Ill would delay the collapse of the pocket and protect German forces west of the river for a longer time. On the 26th of January, the critical ground lies at the southern edge of the Bois de Riedwihr near Holtzwihr. Company B of the 15th Infantry occupies shallow positions on the forward edge of the woods because the frozen ground makes deep foxholes difficult to dig. Two M10 tank destroyers from the 601st Tank Destroyer Battalion support the company and are positioned forward of the trees to fire across the open field toward Holtzwihr. From an original strength of about 235 men, disease wounds and earlier casualties in this campaign have reduced Company B's effective fighting strength to 18 men. Audie Murphy, now a second lieutenant, is the only officer left in the company and commands it on this day. German forces prepare another counterattack from Holtzwihr. Contemporary accounts describe 6 German tanks moving out from the village with an estimated 250 infantrymen, following their aim to drive the Americans from the Bois de Riedwihr and regain the ground around the woods. If Company B is broken and forced out of the trees, the position on the south edge of the Bois de Riedwihr will be lost, and the bridgehead behind it placed in danger. Divisional artillery has pre-registered targets behind and in front of the American line and is ready to fire when forward observers report the attack. Second Lieutenant Audie Murphy stands at the forward edge of his company's position near the supporting M10S. He has rejoined Company B only days earlier and knows how few men remain in the rifle platoons. When German fire begins to fall on the edge of the woods and the tanks and infantry move out of Holtzwihr, he orders his men back into deeper cover inside the trees. He stays forward with the field, telephone, and the tank destroyer burning in front of the woods between him and the advancing German line. Audie Murphy was born in 1925 near Kingston in Hunt County, Texas, into a large sharecropper family. Poverty marked his childhood. His father drifted in and out of the home and finally left for good. His mother died while he was still a teenager. He left school after the 5th grade to work in the fields and took game with a rifle to help feed his brothers and sisters. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, he tried to enlist in the services but was turned down for being underage and underweight. With an affidavit from his sister that increased his age on paper, he was finally accepted by the United States Army and entered service at Greenville, Texas in late June 1942. He went through basic training at Camp Walters and advanced infantry training at Fort Meade before receiving orders for overseas duty. Murphy first saw combat with the 3rd Infantry Division in the invasion of Sicily in July 1943. He fought with the division through the campaigns in Italy, including Anzio and the drive on Rome, and then in the invasion of southern France in August 1944. Near Ramatuelle, on the French Riviera, he led an attack that brought him a battlefield commission as a second lieutenant. Over the course of these campaigns, he earned a series of decorations for valor and wounds that would later make him one of the most highly decorated American soldiers of the war. By January 1945, Murphy was a 19-year-old officer in the 15th Infantry Regiment of the 3rd Infantry Division. In the Colmar Pocket in Alsace, his regiment was under French First Army, serving in French II Corps, in the northern sector of the operation. The division's role there was to help clear the German bridgehead west of the Rhine by seizing and holding the Bois de Riedwihr and the ground between the villages of Riedwihr and Holtzwihr. Company B of the 15th Infantry held the line near the southern edge of the woods facing Holtzwihr. Repeated attacks and heavy losses had reduced Company B from its original strength to 18 effective riflemen by the time of the fighting near Holtzwihr. All of the company's other officers had been killed or evacuated with wounds. Murphy, now a second lieutenant, assumed command of the company during the night before the action for which he would receive the Medal of Honor. The men occupied shallow foxholes in the frozen ground on the forward edge of the trees, with the fortified village and open snow-covered fields in front of them. Shortly before dawn, on the 26th of January, 2 M10 tank destroyers from the 601st Tank Destroyer Battalion moved up to support Company B. One took position close to Murphy's command post near the edge of the woods. The other was sighted farther forward along the narrow road that ran out toward Holtzwihr. From that road and the open ground beside it, any German armor and infantry would have to advance toward the American positions. Early in the afternoon, German forces launched a counterattack from Holtzwihr. 6 tanks moved out of the village, with an estimated 250 infantrymen following in white winter clothing. Artillery and mortar fire fell on the American positions as the German formation crossed the fields toward the Bois de Riedwihr. Murphy, certain that his shattered company could not stand in the open at the tree line against tanks and a full infantry company, ordered his men to fall back deeper into the woods. He remained forward at his command post near the supporting tank destroyer with a field telephone in his hand, the burning M10, and the advancing German line between him and the rest of Company B. He remains forward at his command post on the edge of the woods as 6 German tanks and waves of infantry advance on Company B. He orders his men to withdraw to prepared positions among the trees while he stays alone with the field telephone directing artillery fire onto the attackers. To his right, a nearby American tank destroyer takes a direct hit and bursts into flames. Its crew abandons the burning vehicle and falls back into the woods, leaving it between Murphy and the German advance. Murphy keeps calling in and adjusting artillery as the German infantry closes in. The fire from the supporting batteries tears into the advancing troops and inflicts heavy casualties, but the enemy keeps coming. When the tanks reach a line abreast of his position and the infantry continues to press forward, Murphy climbs onto the burning tank destroyer, which could explode at any moment, and takes control of its mounted 50 caliber machine. Jun. Exposed to fire from 3 directions, he uses the gun to rake the German ranks and throws their attack into confusion. Deprived of their infantry screen, the tanks begin to pull back. For about an hour, the Germans try every weapon they have to drive him from his position. Murphy stays on the burning vehicle, firing at enemy soldiers and directing artillery by telephone. He breaks up a squad attempting to crawl up on his right flank. German infantry reach to within roughly 10 yards of the tank destroyer, only to be cut down by his fire. During the fight, he is wounded in the leg, but he ignores the wound and continues until the ammunition for the machine gun is exhausted. Only then does he leave the burning vehicle. He makes his way back to his company, refuses immediate medical treatment, and organizes the remaining men for a counterattack. Under his leadership, Company B moves forward again, driving the German force away from the woods. Between his control of the artillery and his fire from the machine gun, he kills or wounds about 50 German soldiers, prevents his company from being encircled, and holds the wooded position that was the enemy's objective. In the years that followed, the story settled into that shape. 1 American officer on a burning tank destroyer, about 50 German casualties, about 1 hour under fire, artillery in the background, not the foreground, a single figure fixed forever in the smoke and snow. The title that memory chose was simple. 1 American soldier stopped 50 Germans on a burning tank for 60 minutes. Within that sentence, the essentials remain intact. There is the solitary forward man. There is the wrecked M10 that he climbs and uses as a fighting platform. There is the measured figure of 50 enemy dead and wounded, taken directly from the citation. There is the span of about 1 hour during which the attack stalls and then fails. What falls away are the pieces that rarely fit into legend. The registration of guns the night before, the signalmen and artillerymen who keep the line open and the batteries supplied, the long chain of orders that placed a depleted rifle company and 2 tank destroyers in front of Holtzwihr that morning. None of those elements diminish the part played by Murphy. They simply show how his stand multiplied the power of a larger system instead of replacing it. That is why the documented numbers still matter. 50 casualties, not hundreds. 1 officer exposed on the wreck, but a company close enough to counterattack as soon as he returned. 1 burning vehicle, not a whole column. About 60 minutes of sustained fire and observation, not an afternoon of single combat. The scale remains human and finite, and the achievement sits inside those limits. In that form, the story does not need embroidery. A 19-year-old lieutenant, a burning tank destroyer, a company-sized German assault, and 1 hour in which artillery and machine gun fire directed by 1 pair of eyes break the attack apart. The facts stay small. The consequences for the men in the woods and for the Colmar Pocket are anything but. February 1945 brought the end of the Colmar fighting. 3rd Infantry Division pushed on from the ground it had taken near the Riedwihr woods, while French formations closed in from other directions. By 9 February, the German 19th Army had pulled the last organized elements eastward across the Rhine. Bridges on the river line were blown behind the rearguards. The Colmar Pocket disappeared, and no major German force remained on the west bank in that sector of Alsace. Audie Murphy's own war moved just as quickly. On 16 February 1945, he was promoted to first lieutenant for his conduct through the Italian southern France and Alsace campaigns, including the stand near Holtzwihr. Soon afterwards, he was taken out of the rifle line and assigned as a liaison officer at regimental headquarters. On 2 June 1945, near Salzburg in Austria, Lieutenant General Alexander Patch placed the Medal of Honor around his neck before officers and men of the division. By the time he returned to Texas, he held 33 United States and foreign decorations for his service in Europe and was widely regarded as the most decorated American combat soldier of the war. 3rd Infantry Division received a Presidential Unit citation for its part in the Colmar Pocket and added that honor to a long list of campaigns already on its record. After Alsace, the division crossed the Rhine, fought its way across southern Germany, and in early May marched into Austria and helped secure the city of Salzburg. Company B of the 15th Infantry advanced with the regiment, its ranks rebuilt after the losses in the woods above Holtzwihr. The field itself did not vanish into the maps. Near the edge of the communal forest outside Holtzwihr, a stone memorial now marks the approximate site of the burning M10 tank destroyer and the forward positions of Company B. A metal plaque records Audie Murphy's name and the date of the action. In the nearby village, a short road bears his name. The wrecked tank destroyer is long gone. Only the ground, the shallow contours of the fields and contemporary photographs show where the fight took place. Visitors still come to stand between the village and the trees and to read the words on the plaque. Military histories and local guides describe how a single forward observer on a burning tank destroyer, using a field telephone and a .50 caliber machine gun, helped stop a company-sized German assault for about 1 hour. The emphasis falls on the combination of tools in his hands, rather than on any inflated count of enemy losses. The lesson remains simple and does not need larger numbers. About 50 German soldiers killed or wounded, not hundreds. 1 officer on the wreck, but a company close enough behind him to counterattack the moment he returned. 1 burning vehicle and 1 hour of sustained observation and fire control. Within those limits, a 19-year-old lieutenant and the guns that answered his calls fixed a German attack in the open and helped close the last German pocket in Alsace. 1 American officer, about 50 Germans, a burning tank destroyer, and about 60 minutes under fire. The Rhine line that followed, and the legend that grew out of that field, rest on those recorded facts, and they are strong enough on their own.